Shalom everyone, Joshua here. In today's mission, 2011 Infiniti G35X. It is the all-wheel drive. And guess what? I'm a buffoon, didn't listen to Nissan, thought I would do it all up my way, removing the starter, and I caused myself all of an extra hour and a half, 2 hours of labor. So let me tell you about all the things not to disconnect when you are going to do a starter. Just listen to the Nissan on this one, right? It's not that bad at all. So scope it out. Don't disconnect any of that stuff. CV axle, none of that. Take your wheel off, of course, because you'll need access in there. And in all reality, I don't even know why the lower bolt on the steering knuckle is disconnected. It was said to do that, but whatever, no big deal. Here's what you really want to disconnect is the upper bolt for this engine mount. To access that, remove the driver's side air box. Boom. What I utilized was a 14 millimeter deep well socket, 3/8 drive. Then with that, because I don't have impact in 3/8 drive, so I used 3/8 to 1/2 inch drive adapter, then an impact swivel in 1/2 inch drive, a couple 1/2 inch extensions to get my gun out here. Was able to zip that nut off the top of that engine mount. Big thing, when you go to jack the engine up, make sure it's over yonder, because that starter actually does come out right there. Regardless of what people say, Nissan gets it right. So there is literally no need to fight with the 6 bolts for the CV axle or any of that junk. No need to disconnect the lower fork for the strut mount there. Just do it like Nissan says. Disconnect that upper bolt on that engine mount and literally, well, you know, you got to take your 2 shields off underneath there and have zip ties ready for some of that, because guaranteed, at least the rear ones, especially on this one coming out of New York, those rear bolts all snap, so I have to do some zippy ties. But yeah, none of this was necessary. Could have had this done. Now, I think the book calls for 0.6 or 0.7 on a starter replacement for these. Doing it on your back, whatever, and being annoyed because it's just such a tight, cramped space. I'd say average time should be about an hour and a half. That's a reasonable amount of time. It's probably, you know, about double the time that Nissan gives for this. But a 0.6, 0.7 labor hour I find to be a bit ridiculous. However, like I stated earlier, I definitely went through thinking I was just going to pop out the CV axle and it'd be all cute and lickety-splickety, 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, it'd be done. Negative, troop, negative. Should have just listened to Nissan. Got that 14 mil nut off the engine mount, and then just jacked the engine up and been done with this nonsense, because the starter's right there and it slipped right out the front, just as Nissan said. So, don't listen to anybody else, because let me tell you, those 6 bolts back there, they're obnoxious to get to, and I don't even foresee how you could get anything like a gun on it or anything. Now, down the road, if you were ever going to have to replace that CV axle on the front of these, here's a little pro tip. While I'm at it, basically, here's all you do. I'm gonna grab 2 of these here's, and boom, well, I'll use these 2 for an example, but basically, when this is all properly mounted up yonder and blah, 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 you would pop these on here. Come on now. Get on there. All right. So normally what you do, pop those on there, get you, you know, that's like a 24-inch pry bar, and boom. You set it in there as such, so it's in the ground, and that'll allow you to counterclockwise turn and keep this from rotating. But of course, again, that's when the CV axle's in there and blah, 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 yakety, yakety. But that's a little pro tip. So if you are trying to deal with the nonsensical 6 bolts that Nissan used back there, yeah, it's buffoonery. So, that's how you stabilize and keep the axle from rotating. That's my method. All right, that's all I've got for you. I'm going to go get some lunch, and then get back to putting this together. Bam! Man, I should have listened to Nissan. Ugh! Buffoonery I caused myself. Alright, I'm out of here, peeps. Go love thy neighbors. Shalom. Alright. With a prayer, time to go, peeps. How did I do that? How was it done? I know it was pretty tight. I do recall that. Bam. And then bring your hand in there. Come on, sugar. Come on, sugar. And just like that. So, that's how it slides through there, peeps. Takes a little finagling, but it do be going through there. And it even comes with a new little dust seal protector, so don't forget to pull off that on the new one, which will make alignment even all the more fun. I'll tell you how that just went. So yeah, it came with a little new dust protector to keep debris from sliding by the casing into the flywheel area, and that makes it a nice snug and a bug and a rug and a rug and a bug and a snug. And where did I drop one of lay bolts? Silly me, silly me. Anywho, that's how it goes in. It goes in through the front, peeps. Hope that helps y'all. I'm out of here. Go love thy neighbors. Shalom. Well, peeps, will the new starter do the business? Let's find out. Boom! Just like that. Toda Rabba Abba. That's my father and Shamayim, peeps. Just like that. So when you're doing this job, just disconnect the engine mount top nut. Jack the engine up, man. Pull this thing out the front. It is just easy peasy, peeps. Not too bad. Now, still, one last tidbit. When you're going to realign that motor mount, that could be a little bit of a pickle. But other than that, I wouldn't expect this job for any average DIY mechanic to take more than about 2 hours. 2.5's really kind of starting to push it. 3 hours, you might want to get some help from somebody more knowledgeable. 4 hours, just don't even give it a shot, peeps. Just saying. But there you go. A starter replacement on this G37X is not that bad. No CV axle needs to come out. No catalytic converter bracket needs to come off. Just disconnect it like I showed earlier in the video. Jack the engine up and it moves up like 4 inches. Just jack it up till the catalytic converter just squishing into the floor pan. For real, when you hear crunchy, crunchy, you're getting there. All right, then pull the starter out the front.